Welcome to Set the Sails, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. Brought to you by Bucs Life Media and our official sponsor, the Jersey Wave. Streaming on FanStreamSports.com, airing on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And now, your hosts, James Flash Ludeman, James Britbuck Wilson, and Ruth the Truth Kagias. We are going live in 3, 2, 1.
And welcome, everybody, to Set the Sails podcast, presented by Bucs Life Media. I am your pseudo-intern host for tonight. James Ludeman is out with prior engagement, so he asked me to host the show tonight. Hello, everybody. I'm Bushman. If you don't know who I am, I'm one of the hosts of Sports Caffeine, which airs tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all these social media platforms. But tonight is Set the Sails, which is streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, Twitch, and all the other social media platforms that is on. We've got a great show tonight. I'm going to bring in all the hosts. First, she is one half of the Beauty and the Cleats podcast. Please welcome to the show, Kaylee Tchaikovsky. Kaylee, welcome. Happy Monday night to you. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. It was very much a Monday, but we're recovering,
I'm still recovering from the weekend. So yeah, okay, I might be a little bit of a sluggish host.
Fantasy draft hangover.
It's even like that day, and then that night because I went back out after everybody went home. Yeah, it was a long night. I didn't get to go to sleep till like 4:00 in the morning, so it's all good.
Okay. No, that's not.
Yeah, it's all good. And the other half of Beauty and the Cleats, please welcome to the show, Ruth the Truth Kagias. Ruth is coming to us via satellite from. You're in what, Philly now? Your mic's not on. We can't hear you, Ruth. Ruth, can't hear you. There we go.
Hello, everybody. I'm here from Virginia Beach.
Oh, you're in Virginia. I thought you were in Philadelphia. My bad.
No, I was in Philadelphia for that for the layover, and let me tell you, being in all Cowboys gear in Philadelphia was not a good idea. But you know what? I made it through, and I made my presence known. So,
and just a disclaimer to everybody tuning in to Set the Sails podcast tonight. Ruth the Truth has been drinking since 12 o'clock this afternoon. So if anything comes out of her mouth that's offensive, in no way, shape, or form does that reflect Set the Sails podcast. It's just her thoughts and views alone. So bringing the last co-host of tonight's panel, of course, he's the man behind the board. It is James Britbuck Wilson. What is going on, my brother, man, all the way from Canada? How are you tonight, man?
I'm great. Just terrified being behind the board. This is something that James Ludeman is so good at. He does so seamlessly. And in fact, when he approached me to do the show at the very, very beginning, when it was just the two of us, and I was like, yeah, I'll talk books all day as long as you take care of the technical information.
No, I'm so happy that he left it in your hands because we trust you, Britbuck. We know that you got the power. So bring on the show because we know we're about to make this Monday night an exceptional night.
I am not a suitable person to give this much power to.
So before we start the show, make sure to follow Set the Sails podcast on Twitter and also Instagram and also on Facebook as well. We've got a jam-packed show tonight. We did have a guest, but they had to cancel, so we'll probably have them on next week. Is that correct, Britbuck?
I'm not sure if it is going to be next week. I just know that obviously there was some kind of, I believe there was a clash schedule somewhere. So
from what I heard, it was the Lightning game that's on tonight, which the Tampa Bay Lightning are currently winning against the Boston Bruins, which will be closing it out tonight. So that's good.
Can we just talk about?
I can't say anything about like Bruins.
Yes, we could talk about Tampa Bay sports. That's why we're here, Ruth. What would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about how the Tampa Bay Lightning are making some noise for the Stanley Cup, as well as the Tampa Bay Rays at the top above the Yankees and every other team. Let's just talk about how Tampa is making an impact and how the Tampa Bay Bucs are following suit. I don't know if anybody watched the scrimmage that happened last week, but
Yes, I watched the scrimmage via Facebook, and I'll tell you what, watching Tom Brady lead that offense really gave me hope that the finesse is there. He hasn't slowed down. There's not going to be an issue with his arm strength at all. As also Buccaneers fans don't have to take deep, large breaths when the quarterback drops back for a couple of steps and tries to throw the ball into no man's land like Jameis Winston used to be. So all is in good hands, everybody. All is in good hands. So yes, Tampa Bay sports is rocking and rolling. The Tampa Bay Rays are beating the New York Yankees right now 3-0. So Tampa Bay could be a title town with the three major sports that are around the area. So yes, it is good to be a Tampa Bay fan. Unlike some people who are Jacksonville Jaguars fans, which they'd like to trade away all their players, cut all their players, and just look like in disarray right now.
So let's start there.
I would love to start there because once that tweet came out where they had, it was bananas this morning on every single social media platform, all over the NFL Network, ESPN. And all I could think of is she is probably throwing shit all the way around her apartment right now because Leonard Fournette has been waived by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I tagged Kaylee on a post about this whole situation about, him being dropped by the Jaguars, and she did not respond. So now that we have her on live, I would like to know her response as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Kaylee, how are you feeling about dropping one of your number one quarterbacks?
Running backs.
To be fair, I don't think he was worth the effort, the time, the money that we put into him. That was just my opinion since the day we drafted him. However, I don't know what the plan is because I don't even know really who's on the depth chart behind him, because he was the go-to plan for the past however many years that we've had him, 3 or 4. So I just think that, we're going to throw the ball, I guess. I don't know if that's the plan. I really don't know what we're doing 13 days until the season.
I know that you're a big fan of Minshew. So without a running game as solid as he was, he's going to be throwing the ball exceptionally well this season, right? We picked him up on our fantasy, Kaylee, so we got to have some faith.
Yeah, it's going to be, we are probably the worst managed team in the NFL, and that is just who we are. That's who we've been. That's who we are.
I love it.
That's the hill that you're going to die on. And
I was born there. I was born the year of the Jaguars. So, I was destined for this life, and a life full of disappointment. So that's just who I am. That's just what my life is at this point.
It seems also that what they're doing is they're taking all the guys that Tom Coughlin had drafted, and they're like, you know what, we just need to get everybody out of the building and start fresh and new. And Shahid Khan is probably going, you know what, maybe we can move the Jacksonville Jaguars to London if we suck so bad, a la like a major league kind of deal, where if we suck so bad, I can move the team. It'll be a lot better. And then we'll be done with Tom Coughlin in the way. And the thing is, when Tom Coughlin was there, they drafted well. All those guys that they drafted are NFL All-Stars. Those guys are top tier dudes, and now they just really have nothing. So
yeah, we just can't. Our problem is we can't develop talent. So we can. It's honestly first of all, I don't know how our drafting has been suspect. Again, Tom Coughlin's okay drafting. I just don't think he drafts to our needs, and then I don't think that we can develop the talent that we get, and that's why we lose all these guys. Every single Jags jersey I have, they're not here anymore, with the exception of Blake Bortles. I think they're all very talented. Blake Bortles, good for him. But the rest, I wish we could have,
Hey, Bortles was talented at UCF. Championships.
So nice.
I'm
I think running for his life every 30 seconds didn't help.
I don't think he's a talented quarterback, and I'm just gonna say that. I think regardless, I think you look at 2017, and whether it's coaching or game planning, I think if you have any other quarterback, we go to the Super Bowl, and that's just is what it is. And the game plan in the second half of that game with the Patriots was specifically designed to keep Bortles, I guess, impact on the game as low as possible, right? They didn't want him to screw up too much in the second half, but then, they
did it anyways.
Yeah, and he did it anyways, so they pulled him back, went conservative, and I just think any other quarterback in that position, and we go, right? All you have to do is minimally game manage and hand the ball off for the most part, and we're there. Obviously, suspect play, referee.
So, Kaylee, were you trying to say that Chad Henne could have done a better job than Blake Bortles in that AFC Championship game?
For sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's just so crazy that only a couple of years ago the Jacksonville Jaguars were in the AFC Championship, and now all those guys that were on their team were no longer there.
I know. When that season was going on, I thought the Jags were solid.
Oh yeah. Well, trust me, I cried in an alehouse bathroom for about 30 minutes after we lost that game. So it's a moment I'll never forget.
All right, so let's move on. We are a Buccaneers podcast. We're talking about the Jags way too much there. Kaylee, you can save this for Sports Caffeine tomorrow, and then also Beauty and the Cleats. We'll let you loose.
Beauty and the Cleats.
With all the hatred that you have now for the Jags on those two shows. So let's get into
one thing I will say before we move on about the Jags is,
of course you can.
When you look at the fact that over the past 20 teams, the Jags and the Bucs are like in the top 10 of the worst teams in the NFL. Yep. So when you have that many top 5 and top 10 picks that Jacksonville had, basically you're throwing so much spaghetti at a wall and some of it has to stick eventually. And I think that's what happened in 2017. I just think you had so much talent on the roster that finally something clicked. And then because you are the worst managed team in football, everything just fell to shit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the worst managed.
Fusilli pasta? Was it macaroni throwing out?
I just said it was spaghetti noodles.
Spiral. Okay, I got you. All right, cool.
Kaylee, real quick. So in week 1, you are facing the Colts. Week 2, you're facing the Titans and then the Dolphins. What is the Jaguars? What is the Jaguars? What are they winning out of those 3 games? Colts, Titans, and Dolphins.
Not the Colts. I think the Dolphins is really the only winnable game there, only because like their quarterback issues. They've just got a lot going on. They don't even know what they have going on.
They've been in the rebuilding stages for the last like 7 seasons.
So look at it this way: Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's going to be taking some leave from the Dolphins because his mother has passed away. So it could be the Tua Tagovailoa show for maybe the first couple of weeks of the season. So we might see the coming out party of Tua against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That'd be great. Let Tua beat us too, because we're definitely not beating the Colts or the Titans. Like we have, I think that was the thing is in 2017, our division was weak. We have a pretty strong division this year between the Texans, the Titans, and the Colts. Like they're not, I don't think any of them are Super Bowl contenders, but they're up there. They're, any of them go to the playoffs, I'm not surprised, except for us. So I think we're not winning.
One of them has to go to the playoffs.
Yes.
For sure. But it could be, it's like a toss-up at this point. Like I don't like Titans, so I don't want to give them too much credit. So I'm just going to put it off as long as I can.
Right.
So moving on to book stuff there, Evan, do we want to soft serve this?
So the Buccaneers
going to throw our faces into it.
Well, we'll throw our faces into it. So Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians had a little bit of some back and forth with NFLPA DeMarcus Smith last week because of Arians' comments about protests don't do crap. And I want to go around the horn with you guys and girls about, thoughts about what he said. Do you agree, disagree? Do you think he was in the right when he said this? And, what Demarius Smith said as well. Which side are you on? Are you on Arians' side about what he said, or are you kind of leaning towards maybe he shouldn't have said that at the time?
Okay, so obviously it's a super sensitive topic that everybody is facing throughout all leagues right now. But Bruce Arians does have a point. Not only do you need to protest, but you need to make movements happen. You need to be knocking on the doors of people that are actually going to make change. Protesting is only going to go thus far. People protesting on the street, protesting against police officers, that's only going to do so much. And obviously from what we've seen, it has turned into violence and other things that we don't want to see. So honestly, these NFL players and, athletes that have the platform, they need to be going beyond just protesting. They don't need to be on the streets because they have access to be knocking on the doors of change. So honestly, I believe in what Bruce Arians is trying to say. I don't think he's trying to come negative to anybody. I honestly think he's trying to get these athletes to realize you have the platform. These people want to hear what you got to say. So speak up. Is what I think that he's trying to say.
Coach Arians' quotes were, I think your responsibility is to take action. I don't know if protest is an action, Arians told reporters on the NFL Network. I think each guy has a personal thing. I would beg them to take action, find a cause, and either support it financially or do something to change the situation, because protesting doesn't do crap, in my opinion. I've been seeing it since 1968, which kind of irked DeMarcus Smith a little bit, saying everyone is entitled to their opinion, but it's clear he has woefully misinformed about the history of protests, both within sports and in America, for starters. Kaylee, do you agree with DeMaurice Smith kind of clapping back at Bruce Arians for saying protests don't do crap?
I don't disagree with either of them. I think they both have the same goal. They've both been influential in trying to improve diversity and inclusion tactics in the NFL. So I think they have the same goal, and I don't think it helps to have them going at each other. I don't think that moves the needle in the right way. But I do think that they have different life experiences. They've seen different things, and I don't think either of them are wrong. And I think the issue is that protesting doesn't do nothing. Like in a lot of cases where there are protesting, that leads leagues like the NBA, the NFL to make league-wide changes that does have significant impact across the country. Obviously, they're very powerful organizations. When you put, you have players protesting and then suddenly the NBA is donating millions and millions of dollars to social change, that's obviously an impact. Do I think action is better? I think there's places for action, there's places for protesting. And I think if as a team they come to the decision to practice and play and then figure out how to take action off the field, then that's great. I don't think you can tell players not to protest. I don't think that's right either. So I think it is like a team discussion. If they all feel like there's another route that's better and more suited for their team, than skipping practice, I think, that's a great method for them to take. And I think he's going to be there to back them and be behind them. And I think that's what's great about him. He wants to see real change and he's going to support them either way. But I think at this point, we all just kind of have to do what we can where we can. And I think for a lot of these guys, they do want to be in their communities, like with the people they grew up with their families. Like a lot of them come from areas that are facing a lot of these issues. So they want to be on the street with those people. And I don't blame them. So
I have a quick question though. So for people that win a Super Bowl, for people that win the NBA championship, are they not on the front lines to speak face to face with people that can actually make change?
Well, they are invited. They are invited to the White House whenever somebody wins the championship. Now, the current leader in chief, a lot of sports athletes don't agree with, and they sometimes they obviously drop out when they go visit the White House. So, I would say to them, instead of opting out not to go to meet the president that you don't agree with, maybe you should go and actually have a dialogue with him instead of just opting out to go, because that doesn't really change anything. You're just kind of becoming the problem by not saying anything to the leader of the free world.
Like I said before, professional players have the platform to knock on the doors of people that can actually make change. And I think that they're starting to realize the power that they have with not only their athleticism, but the platform that they have. And I'm hoping that they're making change, because I know the NBA is pushing forth for that, because, they were about to not finish the playoffs. They were not about to crown a championship over what is going on. That's how much they care about this situation. So with this being said, they have the power to knock on the doors of the individuals that can actually make change. And I know that they will. I have faith. Britt Buck, I want to know your opinion.
Really? Really? Okay, just first of all, by the way,
remember, it's the tequila. It's the tequila that's talking, because she's like taking over. Yeah, I've got stuttering issues now. Jesus, I need another beer.
Okay, but yeah, guys on like all over the different platforms on like Twitch. We've not had like our nightly Twitch comment yet, so
it's coming.
Twitch it's coming. It's coming.
Don't worry.
What, the guys on YouTube, guys on Facebook, Twitter, absolutely love you guys. I think Kaylee brought up a very, very good point as well. And in fact, Shady McCoy did kind of mention in his press conference when speaking with the media that, it is something that affects all of them and has affected all of them growing up, and they do want to be doing something. Now, the quote that I'm going to bring up from Bruce Arians is one that doesn't really get a lot of airplay because it can't be twisted to fit an agenda. Now, he was asked if the team has had discussions regarding the recent events taking place in Wisconsin and the response around the sports world. Now, as I'm actually ashamed to admit, I cannot remember who asked the question, and I was there, so I absolutely apologize to you. But Bruce Arians said, I talked with some of our guys. We've got a good social justice program here, and our committee is meeting. If they want to do something, we'll do it, as long as it's something that's going to have something to do with change and not just taking a day off. And that is the point that I think everybody absolutely missed, just as we miss Ruth. Bye, Ruth. I think she might just be having some technical problems over there.
She's getting some more to drink. That's what she's doing. So.
Probably. But I think this is obviously the situation that a lot of people are missing. Bruce Arians is not saying that, protesting is bad. He's not saying protesting is like it's the worst thing and it's not going to do anything. He's just said in his experience that he has been seeing since 1968. Here we are, we have Ruth back. And since he's been seeing it in 1968, where he grew up, where there were like race riots in response to the Malcolm X assassination. So, he has seen it. And I wrote an article, hopefully some of you read it, that actually pointed out that Bruce Arians was the first white player to room with a black teammate. Now, the name James
Virginia
Barber,
Tech.
Absolutely Virginia Tech. Now, the name James Barber might not mean a lot to a lot of people. That was the name of the black teammate that he shared the room with, okay? However, James Barber might not ring any bells, but I can guarantee his twin sons' names will ring bells, for they were Tiki and Rondé Barber. So people who are starting to do this whole he's this, he's that, he doesn't believe in. No, Bruce Arians has actually been doing a lot of work for social justice behind the scenes. He hasn't been virtue signaling over it at all. He's not been saying, oh, look at me, I've done this, look at how great I am. Bruce Arians has looked at a position, looked at the situation and gone, this is completely messed up. This is screwed. I can say to people, I'm unhappy about it, but what will that actually do? I can actually do something to change it, and that's what he's been doing. Like, he's championed causes that people have never even heard of because he doesn't virtue signal. He's donated vast amounts of money that he's earned through his entire career to charities and supporting these issues. Now, is it that he's a bad person because now he's just gone about it and done it for the right reasons? Not like a lot of these celebrity athletes who videotape themselves dropping off food at a food bank, for example. Now, in a way, the protesting is great because it is bringing the conversation out to the people who, I know understandably are, I don't want politics in sports. I want sports to unwind. I get it. But, as athletes, they can turn around whilst the world's eye is on them and say, I want to bring this cause to the attention of the public. Now, repeatedly doing that, I don't know if it's going to sort of turn people off, but a lot of associations now are in the position where they can actually do something, and they are legislating now to make some real changes, which is what needs to happen.
So sorry, my mic was muted, everybody. I think I
wondered why you were on mute.
I know. I think it's really a special time in sports where now athletes are really even focused on even more because of all the social injustices going on in the world today, where especially with the NFL being, the top sport in America right now, these are the guys that really a lot of people are looking towards to seeing what they're going to do during the season, because we've seen all the NBA stuff that's going on. And I tell you what, man, you can kneel all day, but is that really going to change anything?
Exactly.
To me, you need to go out and actually make a difference. I mean, kneeling is a good reminder. Hey, we're kneeling because of social injustices. But when it comes to actually doing something, actually go out and help your communities out. Go and have a conversation with people that maybe won't agree with you on your side of what you think about what's going on in the world today. So I think with the NFL, all eyes are on them. We're opening up in a couple of weeks. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how I'm actually looking forward to seeing how after the NBA is over and actually after baseball is over, how these athletes, especially in the NBA, because it's really focused on then how they are going to affect their communities after their league is done, because they've really been the forefront of all this stuff. So all eyes are on them. So let's move on. I think this was too much of a serious conversation. Too much.
I know this is like, it was like,
it's like the biggest conversation in sports. Like, I understand why we're going to that. Yeah.
Too much seriousness. We need to have some more fun. So
but I do think that you raise a good point though, Evan, saying like when all this dies down and these athletes go back home, what are they going to do in their communities? That's what I think a lot of people are interested to see, because anyone can turn around and say this is a problem and take a knee. But what is going to be the real indicator of how committed people are to change is what they actually do.
And this will be a hot take for me. And unfortunately, when the NBA season ends, I don't think anything's going to happen. I really don't. You'll maybe see a couple of guys, maybe LeBron and maybe the higher profile guys go out and do something in the communities. But other than that, once the season's over, you probably won't hear any more of the stuff until maybe the season resumes again. But that's just my opinion.
That's where I have a problem
You're
with.
cynical.
Because they, like LeBron, he has come from a society where they have been objected to this social injustice their whole life. And I feel like since they've been given the God-given gift of where they are right now, they are the ones that need to make a voice with this situation right now. So I'm looking forward for LeBron and all these NBA players to make a difference, because they are the one that have the power. They have the platform. Everybody's watching them. Like, the whole world is watching the NBA playoffs right now. And as soon as the NFL starts, the whole world is going to be watching the NFL. So these players that are making up 90% of these leagues need to use their platform to make a difference. And I believe that they are. And I have faith in them. So
I hope you should.
This future is going to be bright. I'm just saying, like, change is going to happen. And let's bring on.
I'm this far from muting you.
All right, so let's move on to some humorous things. It seems like every single year the Bucs kicker situation is always being brought up.
You promised me humor.
This is humor because the Bucs kicking game
nightmares.
Ain't so strong. So of course we've got some issues with Matt Gay and Elliott Fry. I kind of like these my strong.
Okay,
foot.
so first of all, Nick Foles missed.
Okay,
he's not.
What
a
about
kicker.
Nick Foles?
He's not a kicker.
I would not expect Nick Foles to make any kicks.
I'm sorry, Nick Foles.
No longer with the Bucs. It's okay. It's the tequila talking. It's all.
Well, when
it's
they
all good,
played
guys.
the Patriots, okay, I was at that game. You guys don't understand. I was at that game rooting for the Patriots. Okay, a couple seasons ago, and
mute her mic, please, Britbuck. Okay.
I think she needs to allow to dig this hole. I want to see how deep she goes.
I'm ready. She's already 3 foot into the grave, so let's do another.
I'm just saying he missed 3 field goals that would have won that game. So yes, the kicker situation is serious, because at the end of the day, if your kicker can't make points for you, what is he there for? So yes,
go for 2.
Yes, the Tampa Bay have something to worry about.
Me and JP Peterson of the JP Show, we had our draft this past Saturday, which we're going to talk about James's fantasy team, by the way. I know he's not here to defend himself, but we were talking
I kind
about.
of feel it's a little bit cruel.
It's fine.
He's
okay.
not here to defend himself.
He's okay with it. Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. Yeah, it's a great team. So I was talking with him. It's like we can't seem to have this kicking game on lock, and I think maybe it was because still the curse of Matt Bryant is still looming on this Bucs team. So Matt Gay and Elliott Fry are having some kicking issues. The Bucs did bring in Ryan Scoop and Cody Parkey of all people to compete for the job. Britbuck, I'm going to go to you first. Do you think this is going to be a looming problem this year with the kicking situation? Because the kicker obviously is one of those guys that could decide a win or a loss for your team, and we saw that last year with the kicking issues that they have. So, are they going to get this under the control? Are they going to get a guy that's actually got a leg? What needs to be done for the Bucs to have an actual solid kicker?
We need to find a live chicken to sacrifice.
That's in baseball. That's in baseball. You can't do that. You can't have a live chicken.
Speaking of baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays are killing it right now. I'm just saying.
All right, Ruth.
Yeah, I mean,
let's put down the wine glass.
The whole kicker thing is it's been a farce, though, from the moment that we let Matt Bryant walk. We had Connor Barth, who we thought was going to be a savior until he snapped his Achilles tendon. like at a charity basketball game. Then we were like, hey, you know what? We're going to draft the kicker of the next 10 years. And I believe that the guy's now a golf pro, or he works at a golf pro shop. And they traded up in the second round to pick him, which was just embarrassing. Matt Gay is actually a perfectly accurate, capable kicker. However, the second he arrived in Tampa, that was it. He couldn't do it. There just seems to be something paranormal that has taken over our kicking situation.
The ghost of Roberto Aguayo, that's what has to do with it. The ghost of Roberto Aguayo.
It started before then. I think it's got to be in Arian's wheelhouse to go for 2 sometimes.
I would hope so.
I think it's got to be.
Or I think it's about time to adopt some of those XFL rules and bring them over where you don't have to rely on a kicker to give you some point after.
XFL, shout out to the XFL.
Kaylee, let me ask you, out of all the kickers that they have, they've got 2 of the guys that are on the team last year, Elliott Fry and Matt Gay, and now you have 2 veterans coming in, Ryan Scoop and Cody Parkey. Do you think that the Bucs are going to settle on the 2 of the guys they brought in, to 2 of the veterans, or are they going to get Matt Gay up to speed to make some extra points for them?
I think you're going to see Matt Gay in the game. I don't think they're going to go out of their way to change up what they have. I think they're just trying to put a little competitive pressure on the 2 kickers that are there. I stand Elliott Fry. I am an Elliott Fry fan. I love him to death. Worked with him. He's a game time kicker. Most of his issues have been, his size in other tryouts and teams that he's been on, as opposed to his accuracy. So I do think that you see this often with NFL teams where when they have kicking issues, they panic, they stress, and then I feel like that looms for years, where they put so much pressure on this kicking situation that suddenly now they can't get the right fit. And you've seen it happen time and time again. The Bears, you've just seen it in all these franchises where they have a kicking issue and it takes them a while to solve it. And I don't necessarily know that it's the athletes. I do think that they're coming into a special teams environment where, the pressure's on. It's this, high pressure situation now, and all eyes are on them. And I think the more people stress about it, the more teams and coaches stress about it, I think the slower you fix it. And that's just how I feel a lot of these situations have gone. And to be honest with you, I think the 2 that they have are accurate enough. And I think in game time situations, if you're not going to put them up to make a game-winning, extra point or field goal every game and, 3 times during the game to keep up, then I think, as long as your offense has some momentum, I think you're going to see them be more accurate. But I think it's when you continuously put them in these save the game situations. I mean, they're human, there's pressure, and they're a 1-person show out there compared to, an 11-man offense that gets a whole game to prove what they've got. So I think they're going to stick with the 2 they have. I think they're just trying to put some pressure on them. So
they should bring Pat McAfee to kick for the Bucs. That would be great.
It'd be entertaining for sure.
Yeah, it would be.
I always sort of actually mention this book whenever kickers are brought up, because I think that hashtag kickers are people too. I think that they are grossly misunderstood. Now, it's a book called, I believe it's called A Few Seconds of Panic, which is basically describes what kicking in the NFL. It's hours and hours of boredom, interspersed with a few seconds of panic. And it is a fantastic book. It is basically an investigative journalist who does sports things, does Gonzo style reporting, I believe. And he goes to the Denver Broncos, where he goes to training camp as a backup kicker. He goes through all the drills, all the experiences. Guys, I would recommend reading it. It is actually a really, really well written book, and it's really interesting as well. Even if you can't stand kickers and you're not a Broncos fan, if you enjoy football, you will absolutely love the book. But
what's the title of that again?
It's I believe it's A Few Seconds of Panic.
Few Seconds of Panic. Okay.
A few seconds. Now, you got one job to do, and that's to kick a ball. Kick a ball. 2 uprights. Kick a ball.
I'm Team Kaylee. I am Team Kaylee right now. In fact, Kaylee, I'm going to bring you over here onto my side, and there we go. So we're Team Kaylee now. Okay, sorry, that way. Kaylee actually makes a very good point, is the fact that the Bucs have had kicking problems. Everybody within the organization jokes about the Matt Bryant curse. The fans know, the media knows, the other players, everybody knows. So the pressure on Matt Gay right now, must be incredibly huge. So every time he's taking a kick, the only thing he can think of is, am I going to get cut if I miss this? That is not putting a kicker in a position to be successful.
Well, as a professional athlete, you shouldn't be thinking about those things when you're about to kick a ball in between two uprights. You shouldn't be thinking about that. Take a shot, eat an edible, maybe do a puff or two on your pen before you take a kick, and you'll be able to concentrate like that. Come on,
if he doesn't, you know better than this. He won't be able to kick for like 3 hours.
If you want to get paid like you want to get paid, make the play for the team.
Tell you what,
do you know how much NFL kickers get paid?
Enough.
It's the low. It's the lowest people on the roster.
Enough. They don't get tackled. They don't get fucking.
Whoa!
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an F-bomb. We have an F-bomb.
Tell you one though, if they're going to bring in any kind of veteran kickers, I'm sure Chad Ochocinco could come in and kick a ball. I mean, I've seen him kick 60-yard field goals. He can do it.
You know what it is, right?
You get him on the cheap. You can bring him in.
Someone in the comments has said this, like bringing in the veterans and all these people to light a fire under Gay's ass. I think that it's going to be in a position to.
I just thought it funny the way you said that.
That was yeah. Rewind that back real quick. What you just said.
Light a fire under Gay's ass.
There you go.
Really?
Hey, it's not a family show.
I work with children. Okay.
Yes,
anyway,
you do.
So Bruce Arians is going to turn around when the seasons come around to that magical cut date, and he's going to tell Matt Gay that he did enough to win the job, and that's going to make Matt Gay feel great about himself, and hopefully give him the confidence to go, you know what, I can do this. I can actually kick that damn ball through those uprights. It's what I've been doing all the time that I've been playing football. I can do it here.
Bucko Bruce had a great comment. He said Matt Gay is going to be fine. I do agree. I think Matt Gay is going to be fine, and bringing those other veterans really is going to make him the competition even more saucy for him to do good. I think he's got the job. I don't think he has anything to worry about.
So, can I hear our opinion on the scrimmage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady?
Absolutely.
Of course.
What's going on with that?
I will absolutely.
The man looked good. The man looked good. Wide receivers look strong. Offensive line, they were protecting Tom Brady. Everybody's talking right now. Everybody that is Patriots fans right now are calling me like, yo, those offensive line is not going to protect Brady. He's going to get slammed on his back 10 times a game. So I want to know, what's your opinion on that?
I think Patriots fans maybe need to pay attention to their own team with the quarterback situation that they have and quit worrying about Tom Brady. They're just still salty with their clam chowders and their Fenway Packs about Tom Brady leaving and everything.
And the khakis.
Yeah, and the khakis and packing your car on Yaki way. They need to maybe just relax.
and smack pack.
Yeah, if you're
really mad at them though, come on, like 20 years with the same quarterback. Right now they're salty. We understand where they're coming from. Like
Ruth, you shouldn't even be listening to Patriots fans altogether. They're the worst type of people.
Don't even answer mine.
Yeah. I really thought it was great for them to have that scrimmage the other day. Tom Brady he has a nickname for Scotty Miller now. It's Scooter. So Tom Brady's, loving on Scotty Miller a little bit. So that's a good sign. Watching that practice, and I said this before the show started, it's nice to see, and JP agreed with me too. It's nice to see where, you're not gasping for air every time the quarterback throws the ball. And that's what we want to see. And we've got Tom Brady, who has been in the league a long, long time, and he's not going to be that boom guy where Jameis Winston was throwing it down the field every single play to try to make a play. Tom Brady's going to manage the game. He's the general in the quarterback position, and he knows what he's got to do. And I mean, he's going to be doing 5 to 10 dump passes. He's going to throw it long to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He's going to do that. But when he throws it, it's going to be in their hands. It's not going to be, it's not going to be going in the defensive hands as well. And plus, if there's not a play to be made, he's going to throw it out of bounds. He's going to make a play if it's going to be there. He's not going to force it like Jameis Winston used to be. So for all those people up in New England, pay attention to your own team. And your Bruins are getting crushed right now by the Lightning. You guys are about to get bounced out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So pay attention to your own team. Your Red Sox suck this year too as well. Pay attention to your own teams. If you wanna pay attention to our team, that's great. Tom Brady's our quarterback now.
You guys are going to be paying attention. Come on,
exactly. You can buy Tom
quarterback for the 20 years.
You can buy Tom Brady jerseys and Bucs colors all you want, but pay attention to your own.
Which they have.
Yes, exactly. So
I bet they have. But the thing is, has anyone else noticed that Tom Brady loves these undersized slot receivers?
He does. Mm-hmm. He does very much. And I think being down here has really given him a sense of being a young quarterback in the league again. It's kind of letting a fire under his arse again and being
his arse.
That's Irish. Yeah, it's. I think him being here has really made him excited about playing the game again. I think that's why Gronk came back too as well. Is they were having such a horrible time winning those championships, but when you win all the time, it doesn't become fun. And when it doesn't become fun, you might want to leave and do something else. And I think that's what they did. They saw an opportunity to come down here. Brady saw the talent. He's like, I'm going to come down here and have some fun, be in the sunshine, not be in dreary old New England, and have some fun and possibly win a championship with the Buccaneers. So let's move on. FanStream Sports, which Set the Sales podcast is on, as well as Sports Caffeine and Beauty and the Cleats. We had our fantasy football draft this past Saturday at WTR at the Godfrey Hotel on the water. It was a very fantastical event. Thank you for JP Peterson for putting it on. We had a cabana. We had all you can drink, all you can eat. It was crazy, 10 o'clock in the morning. Ruth wasn't there. She had other prior obligations, but Kaylee was there. The whole crew was there. James was drafting remotely. And we're going to go over James's team.
Not me.
Not you. James Ludeman, who can't be here to defend himself. But I asked him before the show. I was like, look, we're going to tear your team apart because you got a D+ grade when we graded your teams. And he was okay with that. I know he's not here to defend himself. So he was a bit of a homer. I'm going to go down the line. Tom Brady, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Jack Doyle, James White, the Titans D. For his bench players, he's got O.J. Howard, CeeDee Lamb, Joe Burrow, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Johnson, another Buccaneer, James Washington, Tua, and then John Ross III. I want to hear people's comments in the comment. Did James really draft a D+ team, or do you think he drafted pretty well? I want everybody's thoughts in the comments below. I'll go over the lineup with you, too, if you didn't hear me the first time, but let's go around the horn. Kaylee, you were there. You had a really funny expression on your face when he drafted a few of these players. You were like, what the was he doing? So your thoughts on your thoughts on James's draft? Do you think he did okay, or did he really do that bad?
Well, I think the issue is that when your mostly starting lineup consists of the Buccaneers, like if something goes awry with their season, you are screwed. It's not like
too much.
Yeah, like you've got these late round picks that are like your backups, but like your bench is not going to match up if something happens to the Buccaneers, if someone gets hurt. Like you're drafting all from one team. Like I know there's only one bye week, so I'm sure he'll get by. He might lose a week, but at the same time, it's like you might need to make some trades. And maybe that is the method. Like maybe that's the strategy. Maybe he's going to make some trades to some other homers and try to get, some more variety out there. I don't know. I really don't know what he's thinking, to be honest, besides the fact that he's a Bucs fan. But, I think girls get criticized for how they draft fantasy football, but that was very interesting.
Did he merit the D+ rating that he was given when I plugged all these teams into the rating board? Did he deserve a D+, or do you think he may have gotten something more, maybe like a C, a C-?
I say he got a D+ if the Buccaneers are anything less than amazing this year, and I think he probably got a C+ if they are an exceptional team.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Ruth?
I would say the same. I mean, investing a lot into the Bucs, I don't blame him because they have a powerhouse of a team. Offensively, they're on the ball and they're making plays. But he also has a lot of power of trading in this series. So I think he invested well. James / Ludeman, I condone you in your picks. Okay. I believe in you, bro.
Okay.
You're going to at least make 3rd, 4th place in this.
My one concern, and bearing in mind, like guys watching the show on a regular basis, I know you guys know this about me as well. I'm terrible at fantasy football. I don't really bother with it because I'm so bad at it. But from my point of view is, yes, you look at like the fact that he's got some like Bucs in the team who could potentially go off and have absolutely monster weeks. but the ball can only be shared around so many times in one team. Now, if you have 5 players from 5 different teams, they can all be catching passes, whereas in a Bucs game, there's only one football being shared around. So, whilst one of your players is doing well, the rest of them aren't picking up points.
Okay. All right, so let's go over Beauty.
So I think Ruth might be right, actually.
Let's go over Beauty and the Cleats' team drafted by Kaylee. They already rejected one of my trade offers already. So
yeah, that was insulting.
Come on,
Kaylee, let me know.
You offered
you
a
need more wide receiver help. Deontay Johnson, he's hurt. You need more wide receiver depth. Will Fuller is a baller if he stays healthy. I mean, come on.
If he stays healthy, but that does me no good. I mean.
Okay, so was Minshew our pick because you're a Jags fan, or was it because that offer with the Bud Light was like, yo?
Well, the offer with Bud Light was first round. So that is
that was first round.
It was more the fact that at that point in the draft, because we kind of loaded on skill players up front. So at that point in the draft, I would say anyone that was worth going high at the QB position was pretty much gone. I think that's fair to say. So went with 2 sleeper QBs that, hopefully will pull something out.
I think your quarterback situation was a reach. Your starting lineup is very good. You're kind of weak on the bench area, though. So you might want to think about hitting that waiver wire and making some trades. But I like the starting lineup. I mean, Zeke and Chris Carson. Of course, you got Julio.
You can never go wrong with Zeke.
You could sometimes. And then Cam Akers. I like the Cam Akers pick. It was really good for the flex position, even though I think that Rams situation and the running back situation might be by committee at first. But you never know. Cam could just, trudge ahead and be the number one guy on that team. So
can I just blow everybody's minds?
Go ahead, Britt Buck. I want to hear it.
So I don't get fantasy football, but one thing I do get is defense. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is going to be the draft fantasy sleeper pick. And do you know why? I'm going to take you back to last year, okay? Just the beginning of last season, and that Buccaneers defense is playing against the Patriots and Tom Brady. What do we honestly think happens in that game? Brady goes for about 700 yards and about 10 touchdowns. Now, the defense is going up against Brady, against Gronk, against Evans, against all these guys, and they're holding their own. They're improving. They're getting better. They're picking off Brady. Yes, I know. And this is the thing that really actually bothered me, because a lot of people saying, oh, well, you know what? The offense isn't going to be as good as what we think it is because the defense is dominating practice. The defense is supposed to dominate practice. Anybody who knows anything about football knows the defense is supposed to dominate. If your offense is dominating practice, you have issues on your defense, because that defense knows exactly what's coming at them, so they should be able to stop it. And I
agree with everything you just said about the Bucs defense, because they started off at one of the lowest of defenses in the league, and then they ended the season the top 5 pick. So their defense, I agree with you, could be a sleeper.
And they're getting better. They're getting better. They're a sleeper pick. But guys,
sometimes when it comes to fantasy and defenses, you can pick one up week to week and not really have to matter.
Well, yeah. So, but I just want to totally change, because I can't talk about fantasy football.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. So, okay, so the Buccaneers have a quarterback. We are assuming, rightfully, I'm hoping, that Tom Brady is the Buccaneers QB1. Yes? Do we have consensus?
I think so. I think I don't know. Blaine Gabbert may have kind of edged him out on a couple areas, but I think Tom Brady's okay.
Yeah, I know that like Blaine Gabbert is a younger, better looking version of Tom Brady, but jokes aside, Blaine Gabbert has played himself into the backup position just simply because he plays the game in a nearly identical way to Tom Brady. And while he might not be as talented, if anything, God forbid, would happen to Brady, you are sort of having to sort of change less in your playbook by putting Gabbert on the field than you are with Griffin. Griffin's been around for a long time. In fact, he is, I believe, now the longest tenured player outside of Levante David, maybe one other player. But he's one of the longest tenured Buccaneers on this roster. Is he sticking around? And guys in the comments as well, I'm dying to get your opinion on this as well. is he still on the roster because maybe he's the great hope, or is it just that the Bucs have just thrown so much money at this guy now that actually they need to keep him on?
I think, you have to keep him on because of the options that are out there right now, and which is a scary thought because Blaine Gabbert is your backup, and Ryan Griffin is also your backup. And if Tom Brady goes down, God forbid, you should be worried. Like, honestly, be worried because I don't trust either of those guys to man that offense if something happens to Brady or not, and that's a scary situation. And that's one of the weaknesses I said before a few shows ago that's one of their weakest points is the quarterback depth. They don't have it.
Yeah.
They don't.
I think having.
Go ahead. I feel like watching Tom Brady and being in backseat to what he's got to prove. These quarterbacks have every opportunity to learn from the greatest, to learn to what to do if the man has to step back. So I have faith in our offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I've got plenty of faith in the offensive side of the ball. Having seen because like if you watch sort of the coaches tape that the practices, you can see that the Gabbert's actually performing quite well. He's making throws that need to be made, and he's not missing open receivers. As I said before, he is not as talented as Tom Brady, but less things have to be changed. And I think the offense is being tailored more to that style of quarterback, where Blaine Gabbert can come in and manage an offense rather than be asked to make any plays.
I don't know. Putting him in a real game situation just freaks me out. Honestly, I'm so worried about him.
You remember he was like a top pick, right?
Yeah, but look how his career he lost his job in Jacksonville. He was traded over to the 49ers and he lost his job there. I mean, he's a journeyman. I mean, can you name the last quarterback that sat behind Tom Brady that actually had success? Actual success. I mean, there's a lot of guys that sat behind him and haven't really had real good success. Jimmy Garoppolo may have some success, but that's still yet to be proven yet. Other than that, you can't really name one.
Brian Hoyer, straight away. Okay, Ryan Mallett then. Hey. Right,
but all those guys eventually ended up back in New England, and Brian Hoyer's right there right now. So
yeah, but that's the thing too is I think in New England, Tom Brady, there was less of a concern about depth, right? Because you have all of your resources pumping into protecting the quarterback. There wasn't a real threat of him getting seriously injured, being out for extended periods of time. So you're not looking at depth the same way you need to look at it perhaps in Tampa Bay. And that's not to say that the offensive line won't be good, but it is completely different. It's a whole different situation. They should be a little more concerned with it. But I do think at this point, Blaine Gabbert has been and always will be a training camp and practice quarterback. You put him in a real game situation, he falls apart. That's just who he is. And I think at this point, to have that third guy on the roster who's familiar with the organization, has kind of been there through shifting and coaching changes and personnel changes, I think having that consistent stability back there gives you a little more cushion, maybe not a lot, but when you've invested money and time into a guy, you want a guy that's consistent and familiar with the scheme. And I think that's what he provides, as opposed to Blaine Gabbert, who, yeah, he looks great in practice. He looks great in training camp. He does that every year. And then he goes out in a game situation when they need him and he sucks as always. So I just think you need that.
Sounds
you need
a little bit
so
of that.
with the money that we've invested in
like
Tom,
personal experience.
Why are we worried so much about his backup right now?
Just in case. I mean, Tom Brady could get one hit, and that's why I think the Bucs should go and trade for Aaron Rodgers right now. And Aaron Rodgers will be Tom Brady's backup for the next 2 years.
You think Aaron Rodgers is going to stay behind Tom Brady? Come on.
And on the note that we've just confirmed that Al Bushman plays Madden with the salary cap mode turned off, I accept all trades.
Aaron Rodgers is not sitting behind Tom Brady. That is no way possible this season, next season, any season possible. So
I mean, if I was the Glazers, I'd call up position. I mean, look, Tom's going to be out of here probably in a year and a half, maybe a year.
But they're like $1.
And be like, look, you can have the keys to the city. You can have, free reign on who do you want to bring in. All you got to do is sit behind Tom.
All you got to do is sit behind Tom. All you got to do is have the offensive line protecting Brady, making sure that his back does not hit the ground. If his back does not hit the ground, Tom Brady is going to make the throws, and he's going to make it possible for our team.
The Glazers can back up the money truck to Rodgers and be, look, you could take a year off. You don't really have to play yours back up, and then boom, you've got the franchise after he's done. We'll give you all the money in the world. You just take over the franchise. That's what they should.
No, but we're jumping to the future right now. Like we're talking about this coming season, like at this very moment.
Tom Brady's got a clock. It's a 2-year clock, and then we got to move on to somebody else. And that's what I always look towards.
Bushman, you're jumping too far ahead right now. We're talking about this season coming up.
I'm preparing for the future because you never know what could happen, okay? And on that note, we're going to end the show. It has been a great time. I want to thank James for letting me fill in as the host today. Before we get on out of here, any last news, notes, future stuff to promote with you, guy and girl, before we get on here? Britt Buck, I'm going to go with you first.
I'm good. I'm just living life. Check me out on Twitter. I sometimes post occasionally. And I'll see you here next Monday. Ruth, I'm going to leave it to you. You're having a whale of a time.
Beauty of the Cleats is going to be our second episode next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Make sure you're tuning in, grab a cocktail, and join us for a lot of sports talk. We're going to be talking to NBA. We're going to be talking about NFL. We're going to be talking about anything involving professional sports. So make sure to join us at beauty_cleats on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Beauty in the Cleats. Please follow us.
Oh, yeah. I guess that leaves just me and you, Kaylee. And, of course, you can find us, me and Kaylee, tomorrow night at Sports Caffeine at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bring your beers, your bottles, and crack them open because we've got some good stuff to go into tomorrow night. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Sports Caffeine 1 and also on Facebook. Give us a like and a share. We appreciate that, too. So we'll see you tomorrow night. And, Kaylee, anything else before we get out of here?
Monday's over. I'm pumped. That's it.
Thanks for listening to Set the Sails. Listen to us on Apple Podcast, a Bucs Life Media production in association with FanStreamSports.com. See you next Monday on Set the Sails.